I'm a massive advocate of using money as a tool to live the life you want. So you might assume I'm a fan of building wealth until we decide to stop permanent work. And then it's spend, baby, spend. I think I need one of those big money guns. Now, whilst I'm not suggesting you get the big money guns out and start shooting pound notes, there's a strong argument to say that if we're approaching a time in our lives where we're thinking about either retirement or what happens next, we should spend our hard-earned wealth on things we always wanted to do. However, there's a challenge. Not every pound we spend is equal. There's pretty robust modern research that tells us spending money on certain things makes us happier than other things. And interestingly, the Stoic philosophy on those elements align with the modern research. So in this video, I want to explain the 5 principles of a happier money from the amazing book, Happy Money, and what the Stoics used to say about life and money and how it aligns with those principles. Just to make sure that you, if you're thinking about retirement or what happens next, can spend your money to live a happier life. Welcome to What Happens Next. Now, I'm a firm believer in using money as a tool to live the life you want. I've recently finished a book actually called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins, which talks about using money as a tool to get some of that stuff that you've always wanted. And actually, sometimes our balances are misaligned where we accumulate too much wealth without the sufficient time or health or desire to spend it. So looking at that balance and living intentionally might be a way to go. And there is a balance to be met, but it is important to be intentional about the action you take. But if we think we've got enough, if we think we've got our version of enough money, I suppose the big question is, how do we spend it to maximise our happiness and well-being? And the good news is there's plenty of academic research that talks about this particular subject. One of my favourite books is a book called Happy Money by Elizabeth Dunn. And it's interesting how much of the modern day academic research aligns with the ancient Stoic wisdom of the likes of Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. So let's explore the 5 lessons we can learn about how to spend our money to make us happier and how those lessons actually mirror what the Stoics taught us all those millennia ago. The first lesson I want to share is to buy experiences instead of stuff. Why? Because the reality is spending money on experiences has been proven to make us happier and create lasting happiness the way stuff just doesn't. It's really interesting when you think about, let's talk about travel as an example. You're planning a trip and you get the happiness for anticipating planning that trip. You take the trip, you share experiences with the people you love and like in a way that really makes you happy. But also you get to create the memories that you get to take with you forever. The thrill of a new gadget or outfit does fade over time. The evidence shows this. But the memories that you get to build and cherish by sharing new experiences, the evidence has shown last over time. So if you're looking to spend money to make you happier, take a holiday, take a trip. Go out with the people you love and like. Learn a new skill. Because those happy memories of doing those things will last a lot longer than just more stuff. And part of it is because of the way we reminisce, because of the way that we really value good memories. I was talking with my older daughter in 2022. I did a trip with my daughter Charlotte where we visited 15 European countries on a huge epic train trip across Europe. And it's so interesting because we still get happiness from the memories we created and looking back at the photos we looked at along the way of that trip. Lesson 2 is a really interesting one because the research that Elizabeth Dunn did for happy money says that it's really important to make treats a treat. If we spoil ourselves all the time, interestingly, the research says, the impact of spending money on spoiling ourselves just becomes a norm. It's called the hedonic treadmill. Our new normal becomes what we actually spend. Whereas actually, if we want to boost our happiness, what we do is have luxuries that are really good to have, but stretch them out, have them less often. By doing this, we avoid that hedonic treadmill where we get used to those luxuries, but keep having unique and novel treats we can continue to savour. The Stoics used to say the indulgence without restraint, the Stoics used to say, is counterproductive. And actually, it's really interesting that the evidence from the 21st century completely aligns with that Stoic principle. So the science says if you enjoy the finer things in life, make those finer things a treat. Definitely do them. Make those finer things a treat. And that's the key to getting more happiness out of the finer things in life. Lesson 3 is spending money to buy back time. I talk a lot about, for many of us, including you, the finite commodity you should focus on isn't money, it's time. Now, that doesn't mean to say you shouldn't make smart decisions with your money and actually know when you're achieving financial independence. It just means being more conscious and more intentional about how you spend your time, so you're doing it in a way that improves your well-being overall. I've had so many conversations over the years, particularly with clients in their 50s, 60s and 70s, where they realise their biggest commodity, the one that they're running out of, isn't money, it's time. And how to spend it is always a challenge. We realise that even though in our 20s, 30s, 40s and maybe early 50s, we are time poor because we're building a life and building a business, sometimes we hit that stage, often at the stage you're probably at when you're thinking about what happens next in your life, where we need to pivot to look at how we spend our time and spending it for the better. So, what can we practically do to make sure we're spending our time as meaningfully as possible? One thing we could do is look at the jobs we don't particularly get any satisfaction from and don't enjoy but need to be done, and see whether it's cost effective and more beneficial for you to outsource. That might include a gardener. That might include a cleaner. That might include, instead of trying to do that piece of DIY work that you know isn't going to come out as well as it could, just employing somebody to get that job done for you. That might include working with somebody like me to support you with your financial plan. The evidence is clear. Spending money to save you time is a proven way to make ourselves happier. Why? Because we get to spend that time we've saved doing something we actually love. Seneca, the Stoic, talked a lot about value in time. He talked about often how frugal we are with money and wealth, but how we often give away the thing that's most of value, and that's time. It's interesting. When we're busy doing stuff, I do wonder how conscious we are of how we spend our time. So the question that I asked you today is, how are you spending your time? And when was the last time you looked at whether you're spending your time as effectively as you could and getting the most out of both your time and your life? Lesson 4 is pay now, consume later. Currently, our culture, our individualistic and capitalist culture, is full of buy now and pay later offers. However, the research, the science behind spending money to make you happy, tells an interesting story. It tells us to do the opposite. It feels really counterintuitive, doesn't it? But the psychology around this is that if we had a bit of anticipation on the money we've spent, we'll get the happiness in advance. I spoke earlier on in the video about travel, and I know that when I've spent money on a trip, I start to anticipate it because I know what's coming and I get to relish the experience before it actually happens. The Stoic Epictetus had a lovely phrase about this. Nothing important comes into being overnight. Even grapes and figs need time to ripen. If you want a fig now, I will tell you to be patient. First let the tree flower, then bear fruit, then ripen. The Stoic mindset is all about not rushing, expecting, wanting and needing instant gratification. They applaud the discipline of pay now, wait, then enjoy, because it shows self-control and wisdom, in their opinion. By delaying gratification, you appreciate it more when it arrives, and the science tells us that you're going to be happier for it. Lesson 5, our final lesson, is spend money on others. This is one I've spoken about a lot. In fact, I published a recent video on what happens next, talking about the impact of being kind to others on our own lives and the positive impact on our own well-being. When we talk about investing in others, we might mean gifting, treating or donating, using some of your money to benefit other people. And these could be family, friends, charity or your community. But the studies consistently say the same thing. Pro-social spending is good for our own well-being. And here's where it gets interesting. A recent global study found that if you donated to charity in the past month, that was equivalent to your own income doubling in terms of the impact on your own happiness. Another study reported that if we look after members of our adult family or relatives, often that leads to overall better health and happiness, because it seems that we're engineered from an evolutionary perspective to help other people. Elizabeth Dunn, in the book Happy Money, had a great piece of research on this, where people were given the opportunity to gift a Starbucks card to somebody else or spend it on themselves. And ultimately, everybody who gifted it away and helped somebody else had better well-being from that simple exercise. We are social creatures. And even though we want to use money to look after our own needs, we do know that helping others is an important part of the mix when we're thinking about getting more happiness and well-being from our money. And the Stoics understood this all those millennia ago. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote that what injures the hive injures the bee. And even though we're certainly more individualistic now as a culture, looking after others is the way that we improve our well-being in a number of different ways. And I think it's interesting when you talk about kindness, because I think doing good for others is ultimately doing good for you. Stoics believed in virtue, kindness, generosity and justice. They were all core values of the Stoics. They didn't see charity as a sacrifice of money, but both as a natural duty, but importantly when it comes to this, a source of their own contentment. And actually all the evidence points to the fact that when you give, you gain. Now interestingly, I wrote a book a couple of years ago about kindness. And I talked about the benefits of being kind to others on your own physiology, and the fact that often being kind to others is also being kind to yourself. So the question I'd ask is, who can you help? It might be as simple as taking a friend to lunch or sponsoring a family member who's doing the marathon. It might be as big as helping the kids or grandkids buy their first home or giving to a charitable cause you believe in. These examples of pro-social spending are all designed to help the person you're helping, but also improve your own well-being and make you happier. So there you have it, 5 lessons we can learn about using money to make us happier that both the modern research and the Stoics both agreed with. However, there's a lot more to watch. In this video, I talk about the other Stoic lessons we can learn when we're thinking about what happens next or retirement. And in this video, I talk about the research behind blue zones and what we can learn from the longest living, happiest, healthiest people on the planet. I hope you found that useful. Have a lovely day and we'll see you on the channel soon.